Okay, here's 4 years of therapy in 1 minute. You really do become what you think. If you feed your mind trash, you're going to feel like trash. And emotions, they're not problems, they're signals. Fear shows you what really matters. Anger tells you what boundaries got crossed. Anxiety means that you're stuck in the future, and it's a reminder that you need to come back to the present. Motivation won't change your life, habits will. When you change your habits, everything shifts. Your past, that is a chapter, not your whole story. Learn from it, but stop living there. When someone triggers you, pause, because that's a mirror showing you what's still unhealed inside of you. Control, total illusion. The only real power that you have in this is you and your choices. And at the end of the day, it's simple. Your thoughts shape you, your habits build you, and your choices define you.
All right. I think that's a great way to start the show today. I hope everybody's having a good start to their Monday. We haven't completely collapsed since the end of last week, which is always great. And I've got a lot of good news, I think, that's coming your way, and reasons for you to be inspired. I also just want to say, the reason I started off with that video is things don't always work out as you plan. In fact, routinely in life, you'll be challenged by things that don't work out and that are very hard and that are unfair and all this other stuff. There's always stuff to worry about in the future, too, right? There's always the next thing that causes World War III or causes the economy to collapse. All these people sound very smart and intelligent when they talk about the end of times and all the reasons why things will never work at whatever you're doing or whatever you're encountering. But I would argue that the thing that they discount routinely is human ingenuity and the ability with the right incentives to be able to have a good outcome. That seems to never be covered. It certainly isn't covered in the news. We're going to start off today with a 3 out of 4 chance of a rate cut in December. That wasn't the narrative last week, was it? At least not until we started to get some more dovish Fed members talking. But now we have a 75.3% chance of getting a Fed rate cut on December 10th. And then in a week, we have quantitative tightening coming to an end. And maybe we even have QE. Not a popular statement right now, but I do think it's possible. Yeah, it was. Isn't that funny how that works? It was like 25%. Fear and greed index, again, near record lows, trending that way for a while too. These are the kind of numbers, guys, that we see once every several years. And I think that's exciting. Oh, you know what? I guess Mark Newton, our brother from another mother, is coming on right now. So we're going to real quickly take a pause and listen to the man with a plan and see what he has to say about the technicals of the market conditions and where we're headed from here. And then we'll get into more of my thoughts.
More selling, or is there any type of stabilization or basing pattern that
This is pretty much live, too.
you saw?
Yeah, thank you, Joe, and good morning to everybody. Look, I think it's less about the day-to-day
Morning, JT.
volatility and more about the fact that we've seen a meaningful divergence between technology and the rest of the market, and that started right around July. So tech had gone straight higher, whereas the rest of the market largely gone sideways
Correct.
and not participated.
He's right.
So, when you look at the S&P, it's a little bit of a mirage because you see the market going straight up, but obviously that's changed in the last few weeks. We've had one of the worst Novembers now since 2008. We're down about...
And to be clear, it's like 7 to 10 stocks that were going straight up. And outside of that, the other 493 have been going sideways to down for like ever.
2%, but obviously that followed a much more resilient August, September, and October this year until the end of October. As to what's to come, my thinking is it's going to be a little choppier. It's certainly an unorthodox time for markets to be going down or sideways, but a lot of it is about lining up, the expectations of when the next Fed cut is. They say the market hates uncertainty. That's true with regards to whether or not we're going to cut or not. And I think Williams helped things out last Friday, the percentage chance of...
And Williams is somebody we actually give a shit about the opinion of. You got to remember there's some members that aren't voting.
The market, cutting now was double than what it was earlier last week. So markets are,
more than double.
They're certainly helpful.
It's like 33%,
when that kind of thing happens and start to stabilize and move higher. I don't... It's tough for me to say the lows are in, per se. I think we probably could hit 6,400, but I think the maximum is probably about 7,000 now between now and the end of the year. So I'm not expecting, although I do...
He's right. 6,400 would be possible if the shit really hits the fan. But I think the shit already kind of has hit the fan. for a while, and this is just such a deep drop. It's such a steep drop. If you look at the steepness of the drop, it is very comparable to what happened, again, in like February, March, right around the times where we started talking about tariffs until about the beginning of April when we started to get some relief. The only difference this time is the world isn't coming to an end. People literally thought the world was coming to an end with those tariffs. They thought Donald Trump was going to destroy the world and the economy. I remember the headlines at the time. Were they so dramatic? Everything should be done by now. The world should technically be over based upon the commentary that I saw from 90% of FinTwit from February to March, or I'm sorry, April, early April. And yet here we are, right? Rallied back magically with these crazy little lines that go back to the beginning of time for supports and resistance. And yeah, and it goes back way further than this. This is actually kind of crazy when you look at the S&P and what it's been like. Here, I got to go to the monthly time frame, and then we'll get back to our boy Mark. But I think this is a good segue, right? So here's what I would argue. If you just zoom out a little bit, okay, I would argue that what happened here was magical in the pandemic. Wish I would have been more into regular stocks and macro and anything around that time. That was really around the time that I started to get interested in it, because I realized that I was missing out on opportunity and I needed to have a broader view of the world, or I wouldn't. And if I didn't understand how treasuries worked and the Fed and just really all the inner workings of what happens in our economy and others around the world, I realized that if I didn't know that, I wouldn't be able to capture opportunities like this, because I really didn't. I was very focused specifically on Tesla and Bitcoin, which is good, but there were so many opportunities around that time frame. I could have been better diversified and really performed a lot better. And over here, again, we broke beneath this. The yellow line is the midline, they call it. You can see how the upper range, I mean, this thing goes back, guys, basically since the end of the great financial crisis in the beginning of 2009. And you could see how we hit resistance. We just went up against resistance nonstop. Really wanted to break the range, but just quite couldn't. Heading into 2016, we just kept climbing the line, got scared pretty hard at the pandemic, bounced all the way up, hit the resistance again perfectly. You know, it's a good thing this isn't actual science at all. But hit the resistance perfectly, dropped down to the support range perfectly. And if you'll notice here, we perfectly closed above that support line here and here. And we didn't even make it to this one because, again, there were no negative ramifications. I shouldn't say no. The negative ramifications of tariffs were just non-existent in comparison to expectations. And so we got back up. We closed up here. Then we just kept going up. And now, I mean, again, I think we're trying to test higher to the next line. But I think what we're doing is we're back testing support. We're back testing the midline on the S&P. And I think, could we go down to 6,400? I mean, technically, he's right. If you look at the midline over here, it's kind of hard to see. But like, yeah, 6,400 is probably doable. But I think we're so close. I think this is literally the week that we turn around. Today could be the day that we turn around. I'm actually excited. My friend Cantonese Cat, he's a Asian man who emulates a cat and talks about all kinds of just the gayest shit you'd ever see, and like literally sometimes super gay, and but he's great. He's brilliant. He also plays, what is it, the piccolo or something? I don't know. Whatever. He's great though. He watches YouTube videos. But he was making the comment how it would be nice that we rallied Sunday, right? But then now we're kind of retracing back. I don't know how close we are to the CME gap. I can check really quickly. And we will get back to Mark Newton. I do promise that. But let me see here. Does it have it in here? Historical CME gaps. Support resistance. Key levels to watch 86. Market open 86.5. Market gap high 86. Yeah, so we want to close. I don't know exactly where the CME gap is, and I'd have to check, and we can do that later. But we'd want to close probably right where we are right now, I think. Maybe just a hair lower in the low 85s or something like that. It might even be into 84. I'll check it later. But I do think that then we bounce. I think today is literally the day we bounce. And I know it's been such a painful, like, plus, month. but it's going to get better. Danny said, Fed Waller just now, advocate for a rate cut this December. Inflation, not a big problem with labor market weak. 100% agree. And really the biggest problem that we get, if you think about this, guys, the biggest problem we have right now is the fact that the only thing that's really inflating, or really inflated still, the bubble that hasn't been burst, is the fucking interest rates that people are paying on loans. That's it. That's the bubble. Okay? And we need to burst it. And here's a great thing. TLT up another 0.5% today. And again, we'll get back to Mark because he's brilliant and we should listen to his voice. But we're getting near these breakout zones, kind of like I said we were going to do. Could take another month, right? Don't care. Don't give a fuck. But today, on top of Friday being up 0.3%, we're seeing today in pre-market up another 0.5 as the 10-year gets to 4.04%. Continuing to drop as people realize that inflation isn't the issue. I've got a video, guys. I might even throw this into chat and get a vote. We'll get back to Mark Newton right now. But I've got a video from Scott Bessent. It's such a great video. We should probably watch it. If you guys want to watch it, you got to let me know in chat. I'll throw out a vote here in a second. And for now, though, let's get back to Mark and hear what the rest of what he wants to say. JT said, when we bounce, and those are weird, the letters behind you, maybe your identifier changed or something's being published that shouldn't. When we bounce, I want you to play a video with some bow chicka wow wow. Sure. Yeah, we could do that.
See a bounce happening and likely starting this week. It's tough for me to say it's going to be off to the races until we start to see more evidence of more and more sectors starting to participate in this rally. And
QT technically doesn't end until
completely divergent opinions from Tom Lee.
Whatever.
Could you not?
Yeah, look, we have our own methodology, our own time frame for looking at markets.
But he expected choppiness early and then some good performance into the end of the year.
Yeah, both of us were positive this year. I raised technical analysis.
So
obviously, my target was 66.50. We're largely in line. We're talking with one another as we head towards the end of the year as to what next year has in store. Obviously, it's a midterm election year. Things tend to get a little choppier. Specifically, we've had 2 back-to-back years of over 20%. Now this year is probably also going to be 15 to 20% gains. So, it's right to have consolidation. That doesn't mean the longer-term bull market's over. It doesn't mean we're going into a bear market or, the AI trend.
So you're at 66.50 still for the end of the year.
And if you think about it, guys, we've actually really deflated a lot of speculative stocks. I actually think that the HPC plays are going to come back with some vengeance. So I'm very excited that I have about $400,000 plus, I think, just in HPC right now. But so I'm excited about that. It could be closer to $500,000 even. But I do think that like nuclear power, quantum computing, there are things that aren't going to do as well because, quantum computing could be years out and nuclear power definitely is. We know that because it just takes a long time. It's a lot of upfront cost. So I think it makes sense what's happened. I think the deflation is probably good. And if anything, you should be more bullish because of it, not less.
Yeah, I try not to change that on a week-to-week basis.
Tom's
but I think
at 7,000, I think, isn't he? Or where is he?
Yeah, he was right around my level. I think he raised it a few months ago to right around 7. We got to 7.
No options.
It's difficult to nitpick on levels. It's more just looking at the market as a whole, what's happening with interest rates and the dollar and equity. There's only about half of all stocks that are above their 50-day moving average with regard, and that's troublesome. That happened also this time last year, and it also happened back in 2021. And so we need to see evidence of financials starting to participate, industrials, discretionary. Obviously tech is the elephant in the room. It's important to see tech work being 30% of the market.
Well, can I say, too, that tech is financials now, if you're looking at the right financials. And I would argue that SoFi was one of the right financials. Wish I would have kept some of my longer plays in this one, like my leaps. But again, down here in April, this at what was it, 860. If you rode that drop from 860 up here to 32, you were probably pretty happy. And guess what? That's a fucking bank. So maybe financials have participated. Maybe we just don't look at them and categorize them the same way that we used to.
Market, but tech's gotten very overdone and still delivering a lot of the earnings. Earnings have been great. The economy largely has been in good shape.
So the advance has been overdone, not the sell-off. You expect more problems in tech, or does tech lead us back to?
I think tech is going to bounce after what we've seen in the last few weeks.
Oh, yeah.
The question is, whether some of these stocks can continue to deliver, or at least the stocks can deliver the way that we've seen in recent months. I think it's been a big run. You've seen noticeable evidence of stocks like NVIDIA slowing since July that have largely been sideways. Meanwhile, others like Apple, which are extraordinarily important for the market, 6-7% of the S&P are still doing just fine. So there's been a little bifurcation. Parts of software gave that sign earlier this summer and started to do a lot worse.
Yeah.
He's right.
We need the market to be moving.
Really, if you think about it, Bitcoin and crypto falls into that same category too, where things just got a lot worse. We were happy again. We were happy at the beginning of the year. We were happy. The world was coming back around. Everything was going to be okay. And then it just all falls apart again. I mean, not in all sectors. Things have had different timing. But HPC plays, you were really happy. You're like, what the fuck is going on with iron? I love it, right? I captured some of that, not enough. But I think Cypher is the big one right now. That's the one Mike Alfred keeps talking about. But they had this same problem.
Many sectors moving in unison all together. We also want to have a little bit more confidence in the economy. With the shutdown, there's just a lot of unknowns, I think, and those will, I think things will be fine heading into next year. But
I actually think the shutdown is beautiful because it gives the administration the ability to be able to say, guys, that was the shutdown. That was the longest shutdown in history. That was the problem. It also gives them justification in January, where if Democrats try to shut this bitch down again and hurt the economy and literally prevent this administration from being able to do the things that they need to do and the things that they were duly elected to do with one of the largest majority wins in recent history, right? This is Ronald Reagan type shit. If they don't let them do it, you end the filibuster. And we're already seeing that. Scott Bessent just said it this weekend too. I think no matter what, and not that we're not going to have rocky times, and yes, thank you for that comment. I like how you opened the show this morning. Life is hard, deal with it. That's the fucking truth, okay? The only reason I became retired at 42, could have done it earlier if I would have put more effort towards life, but it's because life is hard, and I'd get kicked in the nuts one fucking day or have an extra one growing. You can't do shit about that, okay? You just have to roll with the punches. And so you can cry for a day or night, whatever you need as far as time frame, but then you have to get back up again and just fucking move forward. And that's how people succeed. The people that win are just the people that tried one more fucking time, okay? And Elon Musk, I don't know if you know this about him, he doesn't fucking quit. And if you look at Donald Trump, he certainly doesn't fucking quit. When you get over 100 lawsuits to try and fucking imprison you and keep you from running for an election again, and you still win that bitch with one of the greatest turnouts in recent history, that's not a quitter. And his entire administration is that way. We should be so lucky. And we are.
It could be a choppier time until we resolve some of these issues.
Okay, Mark. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Nobody knows nuts better than me.
All right, when we come back,
Sure.
why a meal can be...
All right, but I wanted to talk to this too. JT said this, and he's 100% right. He said, hey, did you notice that viewership has dropped a lot? Dude, I've got subscribers dropping. I've got viewership dropping. This is literally some of the most bearish shit I've ever seen in what I believe to be a bull market still. And I'm not just talking Bitcoin. I'm talking about everything. I don't think anything's over yet. I think that we keep going. I do believe, and I've been saying this since the beginning of the year. I was saying it before Tom Lee, so I guess I'm more bullish than he is. But the S&P 7500 is fucking coming. We're literally testing support right now, and I think into next year, and I don't know if it's mid next year or what it is, I think the pace can slow down. But I think we're looking at S&P 7500, and then maybe we're looking at such an amazing time in history that we break up above this fucking line. Or again, history tells us, at least since 2009, that's not likely. But you know what could happen? Right here, man. December, we could be right fucking here, okay? We could be at June of 2013 and riding this bitch up until March of 2015. That's probably my base case right now, is I think we grind this fucker up to 7,500 and then maybe we hang out a while. So Yeah, I think a lot of people have sold recently. I think a lot of people have just given up. And I get it, right? Like, I can't shit on those people. If you think about it, they were promised by me and a bunch of other people that they would get a bull market that was going to blow their pants off, right? And then the opposite has been happening. So I get it. If you have a short vision, if you have very little conviction, if you don't do your homework, if you don't have the right constitution, you can get fucked, okay? But this is what I think is going to happen this week with these motherfuckers. I think this right here. And sorry for the kids that are out there. I want to apologize. I'm working on it. I know it doesn't seem like it because I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying not to guess as much. And I'm definitely not good at it. I love it when it's cheap. Please drop more, right? I'm actually okay with that right now. I'm out of leverage. I feel pretty well balanced. I feel really well balanced now, being at 400,000, like 450,000 plus. Got to update my portfolio at some time. I'll try and do that this week, even though I'm so bad at that. By this weekend for sure. Okay. But what was I talking about? I don't even remember anymore. Bears getting slowed. Oh, well, skip it. I'm sure the point will come up eventually. You know how it is with me. I just go off on a rant for a while. Next part. So yeah, if you don't want to be a panda bear hiding behind a fucking table, then you should be invested in this market. And the next thing I wanted to talk about is the put volumes. Put volumes are seeing record numbers, second highest reading ever. Now, when they say ever, they're only going back to 2022. So I hate it when they say ever, but it's like just for the data being displayed. It's kind of deceiving. But that is a big deal, right? Okay, so we could see that bottom that happened from the tariff piece over here, right? That was the only one that beat us. Outside of that, the ones that are comparable or lower are back over here in 2023. And again, the end of 2022 was the end of the tech bear market. And if you were here, you understand that. Meta was down 75%. Tesla was down 75%. Palantir was down like 80 or some shit. SoFi was horrific. It was one of the SPACs that got just smashed. So we were in a bear market. So we got two really deep troughs here that came to an end a lot, and we've got these baby ones that we appear to be emulating right now. So I put second highest put volume since 2005. So I added some extra data there, not just from 2022, because I wanted to actually give you the real data. I said from prior peaks, there was a 100% chance of the S&P being higher 1 month later. Recoveries averaged 8.28%. This is really good math. So again, seasonality could be delayed. It could be delayed weeks. Markets shift by weeks, guys. But I think we're getting ready to go higher. And I said, if you think about it, Thanksgiving Day, Turkey Day, is the perfect time to pump this market. Why? Extremely oversold conditions right now. Again, like multi-year conditions, right? For what we just looked at with put volume, it was one of the worst since 2005. We have lower volumes heading into this time frame. So, and we have, if you look at the amount of potential shorts that could be wiped out versus longs, it's like 11 billion shorts and it's like a couple billion longs. So the lever, or I should say the spring is coiled for upside price action heading into a low volume holiday where everybody's heard about how destroyed everything's been, but now their friends are like, maybe this is the bottom. And so they're telling Bob or their Uncle Joe or whoever it is that now, yeah, it's went down. But again, I've still done really well. Like for me, I'm a retired multimillionaire. Life is pretty good. And I do get people every once in a while that go, you're still retired? And maybe they're starting to realize that after 5 fucking years of being retired, I might know how to get that way and then stay that way. But people are going to be talking to people and they're going to be telling them that they think it's the bottom. Diehards like me, we don't stop. And so on top of that, they're going to be saying, but quantitative tightening's ending in a week. And we're supposed to get a Fed rate cut in like 2.5. And we could have QE. And this and all the stuff, the no tax on tips and all the pro-growth stuff and the deregulation, guys. And we're talking about getting rid of the Department of Education. This is just amazingly exciting. And note all the fuckers who aren't here. All of you idiots who aren't fucking here. You're the ones that show up when you see some big, like, I made this much money today, and you think that that's all the effort you have to put into investing. You motherfuckers who unsubscribed, stay unsubscribed. Eventually, I'll probably just make everything subscription-based and not even share with the world anymore. I think that would work better for when I do trading. But you're going to miss out. And the people that are here, the real ones, you're the ones that are going to benefit because you're the ones that are here when you're supposed to be here. You show up when it gets hard. You take your breaks when it gets easy and then maybe take a little bit and put it on the side just in case it gets hard. But you show the fuck up when life gets hard. That's the time you have to be here. And so, again, I think good things are coming. My buddy Seth Golden, my Jewish New Jersey brother from another mother, says midterm election, S&P 2026 since 1942 from MTE Day, 21 consecutive positive returns. To June 30th, 14 double-digit SPY returns, 6 positive returns greater than 20%, only 2, 1946 and 2014, with positive returns less than 5%. 2014, we just looked at a little bit ago. That one was one where we had ridden that train for a while, right? So kind of makes sense that we'd start to peter out at the end. We could be doing that again, maybe end of 2026, beginning of 2027, potentially. Again, all this timing can shift. All we could do is take educated guesses on it. But I think the next 2 years are going to be some of the best fucking times you could be invested in markets. And I actually think the next decade is really the last time that making money matters. And so if you're not here right now, you're missing out on being able to live a beautiful life in the years ahead. Ones where robots take care of you and do the things you need to do. Ones where you have all the time you want for yourself. That's good and bad. And you have opportunity and options in life. And you'll be at the forefront of that while others will have to wait for the systems to get richer and richer and richer, for their portions to get larger. And they will. And there will be abundance for all. But you have the ability to be at the front of that line and be able to ride that out in your lifetime. And so I'm glad you guys are here. He said have a chunk of cash dedicated November 2026 to June 2027. So he's thinking, that's interesting. So he's thinking something similar to me, that he believes the end of 2026 to mid 2027 could end up being kind of like when you should have cash. I'm really starting to lean that way, and I've been all over the place. It's been hard to know which direction things were taking. I really should have been more conservative, looking at all the moon boys and the people that were like, I block people. Oh my God, we got Kevin Hassett talking. We're going to have to watch that. I block people that don't have at least 100%. That is the dumbest shit for year to date. That is the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard in my life. And I should have realized at that time that it was time to come back. And that's what we've done. But we're gonna do really well. I ain't worried about it. But we do need to listen to my boy Kevin Hassett, because he is the man. I listened to him over the weekend and it was a thing of beauty. So we're gonna go back here. Oh, I might have to. Give me a second here. This is weird sometimes. My windows, I got to figure out a better way of doing this. Let me go back and try and find. There we go. We're going to start off here. I want to listen to this whole thing. Kevin Hassett is brilliant. This is our new head of the Fed, guys, is right here. His name is Kevin Hassett. Congratulate him on his new job, which has not been officially revealed yet.
Welcome back. Good Monday morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I'm Maria Bartiromo, and it is Monday, November 24th. It is 8 a.m. on the button on the East Coast. And I hope you're having a great Monday morning. This holiday-shortened kickoff of a week for Thanksgiving. Coming up this hour, Senator Ron Johnson will be here in moments. And then at 8:30, don't miss former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland joining us. But first, the hot topic of the hour, affordability is front and center for the Trump administration now, as President Trump and his top officials predict a banner economic year.
Guys, I have so many things to talk about that's going on with the Trump administration. We'll go through economic data after this, and then we'll jump into that.
In 2026. Here's White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett with me yesterday. I want to get your take on what you're expecting for the new year, 2026.
This video from yesterday was fucking great. I almost want to watch Scott Bessent and Hassett all the way through, Meet the Press, and this one with Fox Business. If you guys are up for that, here, you know what? Let me do a poll real quick. I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to give a poll to see if you guys want to watch those interviews. They're so good. So much signal.
In the economy, what does that look like to you today?
Right. It's going to be an absolute blockbuster year ahead. And one of the signals you just mentioned, the jobs report, that was double the expectation. The blowout
JP
jobs
Morgan,
report.
that's more
We've got
too.
GDP now for the last 2 quarters, almost 4% on average, maybe even a little bit above. And we're going to have a little bit of a hiccup in the fourth quarter because of the silly shutdown. But then things are really lifting off. And the only thing is that we're going to see a lot of whining from left-wing critics of the president about the fourth quarter, because our estimate is that the shutdown cost more than we expected at the beginning, because it had such a huge effect on this week ahead. So many people have.
And I mean, they're going to say that no matter what, right? It's always going to be worse once you come out of it, because then you can use that as an excuse for everything. So whatever, whether that's true or not, I really don't care.
To cancel their Thanksgiving plans because of the Democrats shut.
And yet I just saw from some, it's not a polling, or it might be a polling agency, but it's also like people that project retail sales and traveling for Thanksgiving and holidays. And they said they actually expect this one to be one of the busiest seasons ever, even despite all the chaos. Now, that margins might be lower for like airlines and stuff for the quarter, but as far as purchasing and everything else, I think it's going to be strong.
Down, that we think the economic effect might be to cut economic growth about in half for the fourth quarter.
So you're talking about what, 1% growth in the fourth quarter? How would you assess?
1.5. I would say 1.5 or 2.
That's actually probably a pretty good portion of what was said with Scott Bessent. People want to listen to, with Kevin Hassett. People want to listen to Scott Bessent. I think that's a great idea. Let's do that. It was such a good interview. Scott has so much signal, guys. It is ridiculous how much signal this man has. It's amazing, though. It's well worth listening to. So this video is 12 minutes, 50 seconds. We're going to listen starting right now.
And joining me now is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Secretary Bessent, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Chris, good to be with you today.
It's great to have you here in person.
He butchers this cunt. It's so good. Oh, my God.
Thank you for being here. I want to
He's
start
so much
right
smarter
there
than she is.
on the discussion of affordability. You just heard Vice President J.D. Vance ask people to have, quote,
yes,
a
JD.
little bit of patience with the administration. Let me ask you, Mr. Secretary, how long do Americans need to be patient? How long do they have to wait for the cost of living to come down?
Well, Kristen, in March of 2024, I wrote a piece and I talked about the 3 I's that were killing Americans: immigration, interest rates, and inflation. President's closed the border and the mass immigration is gone. And that was a lot of the immigration was putting upward pressure on housing, downward pressure on wages. Interest rates are down. And now we are starting to see the affordability. The prices get better. We had a very big October for home sales. Energy prices, gasoline is down. We saw, we believe healthcare is going to come down. We will see an announcement this coming week on that. And so across the board, prices are starting to come down. We're having Thanksgiving week. This will be the lowest cost for a Thanksgiving dinner in 4 years. Turkey prices are down 16%.
And yet some prices are going up. Of course, we have seen prices increasing on staples like coffee, bananas, bacon. Inflation has gone up. It's at 3% now, up from 2% in April when the tariffs were imposed.
No. They weren't. So inflation hasn't gone up. And, Kristen, the one thing
I love
that we're
how
not
quickly
going
he
to do
tears
is
them
do
apart.
what the Biden administration did and tell the American people they don't know how
It'll
to
be great,
feel.
JT.
They are traumatized, and over the Biden inflation, we have slowed inflation, and we are working very hard to bring it down. Kristen, I can tell you that the Council on Economic Advisors has a study. You know the best way to bring your inflation rate down? Move from a blue state to a red state. Blue state inflation is 0.5% higher, and that is because they don't deregulate. They keep prices up. Energy is higher.
Just according to the consumer prices, inflation was at 2.3% back in April. In September, 3%. But let me ask you about tariffs, because there's this big announcement on tariffs. Since you were last on this program, the administration announced it was rolling back tariffs on more than 200 food products. You have said recently that you think tariffs help consumers. If tariffs help consumers, why is the administration rolling them back?
Well, first of all, Kristen, if you look at the data, that imported goods,
we do.
The inflation has actually been flat. Inflation is up because of the service economy and services, so that has nothing to do with tariffs. And many of the food items where the inflation is coming down, the USTR has been working very hard on trade deals, and the trade deals that have been in the works for 6 or 8 months coincide with many Latin American, Central American countries where the foodstuffs you just named come from.
Well, and banana prices are up almost 7%, coffee prices
them,
up nearly 19%. Isn't the fact that you're rolling back tariffs an admission that ultimately they do drive up prices for consumers?
Kristen, how much does your arm weigh?
That I do not know.
Exactly, but you know how much you weigh. You get on the scale every morning. Inflation is a composite number, and we look at everything.
God,
so we try to push down the things we can control. And as I said, that we are working on. The energy prices are down, and everything flows from that. And I think we're going to see these other prices come down. And again, many of these goods were part of trade deals with countries that have been in the works for months.
Sure, very quickly, come down in a matter of weeks, months?
Sorry?
Weeks or months? So the prices will come down in weeks or months?
Some are going to come down in weeks, some are going to come down in months. We just had in terms of affordability,
This lady sounds retarded to any business person, educated person who's listening to him and listening to her. Weeks and months.
Had the best month in the housing market due to affordability, due to increased supply in October. Best October in 3 years. Best month since February.
Let me ask you big picture,
Just
Mr. Secretary. You said earlier this month, I'm going to quote you, quote, I think there are sectors of the economy that are in a recession. Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council, said, quote, we're starting to see pockets of the economy that look like they might be in a recession.
It is. It's so
Which
good.
parts of the economy do you believe have dipped into a recession?
Well, clearly housing has been struggling, and interest rate sensitive sectors have been in a recession. And the other thing that was not helpful, Kristen, was the longest government shutdown in history. It was 1.5% hit to GDP. They had 9,500 flights canceled, and the Democrats didn't care that they hurt the American economy. And anything to stop Donald Trump.
Well, big picture is.
See, this is so brilliant because what he's framing right now is that the shutdown really hurt us, right? He's framing that part, and the entire administration seems to have this messaging, which is why it's so great that not only did Donald Trump pick people that are brilliant at their jobs, but they can also communicate with the public, and this guy being one of the primaries. But they're getting the messaging out there that shutdown really, really bad. Come January, the Democrats are going to try and shut down the government again, and they're going to look so foolish and so fucking stupid and so obstructionist. And if they do try and shut it down, I better end this poll. If they do try and shut it down, they're going to have the filibuster come to an end. And if they don't try and shut it down, Republicans are going to get a government that's functioning. So I really think that that's what's happening right now, and I think they're setting them up. Just like Mom Donnie in the White House. Oh, my God, that was funny, too. We got a lot to talk about today.
The country at risk, the entire country at risk of being in a recession?
No, I am very confident about 2026 because what we are going to see.
Very confident about 2026.
Is the president has done peace deals, tax deals, and trade deals, but one big, beautiful bill. And to go back to affordability has two components. So it's price of goods and real incomes. So under the one big, beautiful bill, especially for working Americans, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, auto deductibility on loans for American cars. That's all kicking in. Americans have not changed their withholding, so we're going to see substantial refunds to working families in the first quarter of 2026. Americans will change their withholding, and they will get an increase in real income. The trade deals that we've done, I was just in my hometown, Charleston, South Carolina. Boeing is expanding their Dreamliner plant, 1,000 new jobs, and I think we're going to see these plant openings every week. I am very, very optimistic on 2026. We have set the table for a very strong,
very, very, very optimistic
non-inflationary growth economy.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So you're saying a strong economy and a non-inflationary economy? One where I've been right about this the whole time. Right? I've been right about this the whole time. I've been talking about how the 10-year was going to roll over, and it's slowly been doing that. But he's saying that it's not going to be inflationary. They're working to get it to where the Fed goes lower. We have another 25 bips dropping soon. So far, they're doing a good job towing the line. We're talking about getting rid of the Department of Education. I've got more Doge posts about how they're saving money in the government. And so if we become more fiscally responsible and we can use yield curve control to drive rates lower, and again, we can do that because the foreign bond, the issue or ownership is only like 29%, right? We already have, and we have the Japanese model. We know that we can use your yield curve control to keep the bond market artificially depressed with yields. And if we have a thriving economy, and we know we can do that, and we know we're headed towards an age of abundance, but one that we need to build out like crazy, and we know that the new technology is going to be driving innovation, which by its nature reduce costs for goods, and then we're pushing energy and we're pushing pro-growth and all this if we're doing all these things, we're going to have a beautiful fucking economy. And I really hope that you guys are listening to that and thinking about it, because that is what's coming. And it's so important that you understand it.
Okay, let me ask you about the big news on the world stage. You just talked about the president's peace deals. Let's talk about Ukraine. U.S. lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, Ukrainian officials who I've spoken to, say the peace plan.
Yeah, and we're working on a peace plan, which like all the people that like, I don't know, if you're on a little bit liberal, if you're one of the like pro-Ukraine people. And when I say that, dude, I had a Ukrainian flag hanging outside of my house after Russia invaded Ukraine. So I very much sympathize with people that are being invaded versus the ones that are doing the invading. I do. I want a more peaceful world, right? But this will come to an end. And yes, does it look like it's more optimistic towards the Russian side because those are the people we wanted to start with, because those are the people that were refusing to come to the table? Yes, that's how negotiations work. You try and get people talking to each other and constantly adjusting the dial until you can hone in on an agreement that hopefully both of them aren't happy with, but they know they can't continue war. But that's going to happen. The war is going to come to an end. I think it could happen. I think by the end of the year is too optimistic, but I definitely think before their 4th year anniversary. What is that? February, March of next year.
For Russia and Ukraine, as written, only benefits Russia. Let me ask you simply, Mr. Secretary, was this
just destroyed
28-point
Russia's
plan
economy
written by
too.
Russia?
I have no information on that, Kristen, but I can tell you I am the highest-ranking U.S. official to have visited Ukraine. I went last February. And when I went last February, I went with an economic cooperation agreement between the U.S. and Ukraine. President Zelensky pushed back against it. The same people you're just talking about there pushed back against it. Mainstream media pushed back against it. You know what? We did it 3 months later, and now it is the centerpiece for the Ukrainian economy. That
again, oh no, this is a stupid 28-point plan, blah, blah, blah. There's no way it's going to happen. Just wait a few months. Shut the fuck up and wait a few months.
This agreement is even funding military plants for the very innovative military sector in the Ukraine. So I would be very careful on conventional wisdom. And to go back to your question, it is a peace
Listen
negotiation.
to people that build and get
to that
things
point,
done.
Republican Senator Mike
Listen
Brown,
to
who
them.
was briefed by Secretary Rubio, came out and he said this, quote, "It's not our peace plan. It looked more like it was written in Russian to begin with."
This guy's a
Secretary
cunt.
Rubio says the U.S. did write the plan. But regardless of who wrote it, U.S. lawmakers are concerned that it benefits Russia over Ukraine. Is the administration, is President Trump planning to pressure Ukraine to accept this deal?
Look, at the end of the day, it's going to be a decision with the Ukrainians. President Trump is a president of peace. This war would not have started. There was no Ukrainian territory taken any time that he's been in office. Everything else, Crimea and this move have been when President Trump wasn't there. President Trump has put more pressure on the Russian Federation with economic sanctions. The laggards here are the Europeans. The Europeans tell me, we are doing
still
our
buying Russian
19th
oil.
sanctions package.
Cunts.
In my mind, Kristen, if you're going to do something 19 times, you failed. Instead, President Trump moved forward with a bold initiative that the Europeans would not follow us on. He put a 25% tariff on India because they were buying Russian oil. The Russian oil going in to the Indian refineries, guess who was buying that? The Europeans. They are funding the war on themselves. President Trump,
What a bunch of
2 weeks
morons.
ago, sanctioned Rosneft and Lukoil, the two biggest the oil companies, and the price of Russian oil has collapsed.
Very quickly, is the Thanksgiving deadline?
He is 100% right. I don't know why people don't pay attention to things that matter, but Russia has oil container ships floating in the fucking ocean and building up in the sea. And the Baltic Sea. They don't have anywhere for this shit to go. They don't have anywhere for it to go because India's turning off the taps, China's turning off the taps, and the rest of the world already had outside of Europe. Europe is going to be the biggest buyer of Russian oil, and yet they're like, this isn't fair to Ukraine. This needs to be better. And it's like, why are you the biggest buyer of the people that you hate so much? If you hate Putin so much, why are you funding the war on both sides? It doesn't make any sense, but the war's coming to an end. It's coming to an end.
Set by President Trump affirmed.
And Russia has no choice. They're at economic collapse right now. And Ukraine has no choice because if we do what we said we're going to do and we turn off intelligence at the end of this week and stop giving them weapons, Russia will start taking land.
Deadline.
So they both have to quit
spoken to him about
for
it,
different reasons.
I
will
am
crush their
confident
nuts.
that the peace process is moving forward.
Okay, let me ask you about another topic this week that got a lot of attention. 6 congressional
It's all about the
Democrats
nuts.
released a video with a message to service members and intelligence officials. Take a look.
Threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
Acting like orders are illegal. Like, first off, you need to name which orders have been illegal. There haven't been because he keeps winning in the Supreme Court, right? Which means that what he's doing is legal. So these people here are literally talking about people going against their government, and those crimes are punishable by death. That is the law. So when they talk about Trump threatening to kill people and how authoritarian that is, no, he's just talking about invoking the law. And you guys maybe shouldn't be talking about ignoring presidential orders that are illegal when you can't provide any that have been, that are of any substance whatsoever.
President Trump accused these lawmakers of, quote, seditious behavior punishable by death. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that every order President Trump gives is lawful. Are you confident that every order that President Trump gives is lawful, Mr. Secretary?
President, what I am confident of is that this was a display of gross negligence here, that there are 2.1 million service members. And you're probably going to say, oh, like off the rails representatives have gotten death threats. Well, what about the 2.1 million service members? They have put their lives at risk. There is one commander in chief. And when you step outside of the chain of command and try to create the noise and chaos, that only helps our enemies.
Are you confident, though, Mr. Secretary, that every order that President Trump gives is in fact lawful,
literally,
as Caroline Leavitt has said?
I am confident of that, and I am also confident that this was a complete mistake. They should retract it.
Okay, before I let you go, I have to ask you about your op-ed in the Washington Post this morning.
They
A lot
didn't
of
get
folks
the
going to wake
gotchas
up
here,
to
did
that.
they?
We call for an end to the filibuster. In the past, Leader Thune has said that it's just not happening. There aren't the votes. Mr. Secretary,
they better watch it out. It's going to happen.
You have enough votes, that the president has enough votes to get rid of the filibuster?
Well, we will see come January 30th, because that's the point of my editorial, is to put the Senate on notice that the Democrats kept the government shut down. And Ezra Klein in the New York Times took the mask off. He said this wasn't about health care. This was about stopping totalitarianism. The Democrats haven't been able to stop President Trump in the courts. They haven't been able to stop him in the media. So they had to harm the American people. 1.5% hit to GDP. 11.
So again, I think I want to stop on that real quickly because he made such a great fucking point. They can't win in court. They can't win they can't win in Congress. They can't win. And so the only thing they can do is be obstructionist and try and hurt America and hurt the government employees that are on their side, right? The majority of government employees are probably pretty liberal across a lot of departments. We know that about the Department of Education, the Fed, a ton of areas, right? So that's how things work. You hire a bunch of people in there that are part of your party. I mean, it's just how it works. And they did it much more so than most as they increased the size of government exponentially, like by a lot. And so he makes a point. All they can do is be obstructionist, and we're going to win. We'll end the filibuster. We're moving the Overton window every time we talk about it. People before are like, oh my God, you can't end the filibuster. You can't replace Jerome Powell. As time goes on and we talk about it more, it becomes acceptable. That's what the Overton window is, right? Of what the human consciousness of acceptability is on a given subject. And it grows more so in our favor all the fucking time.
$11 billion permanent hit. They don't care. So I believe that Senate Democrats, if
an alien wearing a suit. Can you imagine him and Musk fighting like two aliens? They're just duking it out. That's what's really going on.
If Senate
For the control of humanity, but they're also on the same side. They just fight with each other every once in a while. And then they're going against the WEF, which are the lizard people. No, I'm kidding.
Democrats close the government again, that Senate Republicans should immediately abrogate the filibuster. You should ask Senator Klobuchar whether she will adhere to the filibuster.
We'll have time.
And whether
We got a lot
she
to
will
go through.
close the government again.
Just yes or no, though. Do you acknowledge at this point you don't have the votes right now to do that?
We will see. Can have them on January 3rd when we see this bad Democratic behavior.
All right, Secretary Bessent.
He is so good. She's like, oh, I fucking hate you so much. I fucking hate you, dude. Anyway, so Seth says S&P 500 has never priced Fed fund futures cuts or hikes. The S&P 500's historic correlation coefficient with FFF is less than 0.27%, quality correlated at equal to or greater than 0.8. Fed actions are almost always catching up to what the S&P X or what the SPY is doing. And I think that's 100% right. He said second greatest gap in history, but he believes that the Fed has to catch up to what we are doing. So again, from what he's saying here, if we look, U.S. Fed 24 policy rate percentage, that's the light blue. So we're sitting at 4.6. And what he's saying is the S&P has been going up. You could see the correlation here. But what's getting ready to change is that this Fed fund rate is getting ready to move towards what the S&P has been doing. But it's inverted, right? So we're looking at a Fed fund rate, he's saying, that should be closer to 3%. I was listening to, I think it was Kevin Hassett talking about something closer to the ones. And so I think you're going to see rates coming down a lot, and I think that's what's going to surprise people. And I like that. I think that's going to help TLT a lot. It might grind where it is for another month or so, but we will see TLT going up, and I think that could be a 200% move if it does what it's supposed to do. That could be a 200% move in my portfolio off of something that only has to move 20%, maybe even less. And again, maybe it could be 250. Maybe it could even be 300%. I'll take it, brother. I'll take it. But so you have Scott Bessent saying that this is going to happen. You got Kevin Hassett saying this is going to happen. You have Howard Lutnick saying this is going to happen. You have anybody who's worth their weight in salt saying that it's important that we start to lower interest rates so that people can refinance. We can open up the real estate market. We can help the government be able to repay its debts. We can help those banks that bar chart loves to post that shows what the losses that they're sitting at for Bank of America and all these other big banks because of their bond portfolios. They would be positive or break even if we just fix that and lower rates because they've got duration risk, which means they just had the wrong allocations of treasuries or bonds for a period of time, which caused them great harm. And that's all fixable just by having the Fed fund rate catch up to what the S&P is telling it should do. And history tells us it should do this because it's math. So anyway, I said when people flip bullish, it will be violent. I think the bounce last week was literally just seen as hey, this is a dead cat bounce. I think that's what all the bears think. The bears think they're 100% in control. They're very bold right now. And again, you can see that when you look at the amount of shorts, you look at the high put volume, whether it be the regular markets, or you look at just how lopsided the leveraged markets are between puts and longs within the Bitcoin space or the crypto sector. You could see it's very lopsided. There's nothing but fear. My timeline is nothing but fear. There are only 800 plus people here. Today's been a great fucking episode, and yet we aren't even close to 1,000. So if you guys are here, please hit the like, share this. We're talking about really good stuff here that can help people. And the only problem is that they're not looking at it right now because they're hurting and they're scared. And instead of looking at all the beautiful things that are happening, they're trying to cope with selling out at the bottom. And I want to help as many people as we can because they're making a huge mistake. I put unpopular opinion. Tariffs are good for American trade, not inflationary, and bring builders back to America. Trump has a very long tirade here. They are getting more eloquent, which I do like. James E. Thorne said the interest rate sectors of the economy, again, my Canadian brother from another mother dissecting what Scott Bessent had just said housing is in recession. Or he said the interest rate sectors of the economy are struggling. Housing is in a recession. These sectors were not the cause of an inflation spike. How members of the FOMC can't grasp this is beyond me. Treasury Secretary Blastims, they didn't care about crushing the economy to stop Trump. So again, he says that he basically reiterates what I've been talking about. Kobayashi Letter said historically when the volatility index, the VIX, jumps above 28.7, the S&P 500 has delivered strong returns over the following 12 months. So we've got more indications that we're actually looking good heading into next year based upon historical information. And again, I think so right now I'm kind of going against Michael Howell because he believes that we're entering this problem with liquidity and everything's going to break down. What I think he doesn't understand is our ability, and I hate to say this because he's a brilliant person who's looking at over 90 metrics in global liquidity, and he's very thoughtful, and he's like a beautiful mind type fucking person. But what I think he's missing is how strong the hand of the United States is. I think he's missing how willing we're going to be to keep issuing short-dated treasuries and how much we're going to be willing to integrate with the Fed and implement your yield curve control to ensure that our bond yields stay low at the high end of the curve where we're already not doing any issuance, right? And so I think he's missing out on that. I think so I think he's going to be wrong. I think next year, again, maybe we're already encountering the pain now. Maybe I'm wrong and it lasts for another week or two. But that oversold condition will just be the coil like what we had at the end of April when we hit the bottom of the market and everybody's fear about tariffs started to dissipate and we just rocketed higher. I think that's what we're setting the stage for. Whether or not it starts today, whether or not we actually start to move forward today or not, doesn't really matter. It's what's coming. And this man just got done telling you that he believes that we're sitting in front of a beautiful 2026. And we're doing all the right things. You know that. If you're smart enough to understand what we're doing and how much better it is, how much better this government's going to be run and is being run versus what it has been in the years. If you're more than a headline reader and you do any work whatsoever to understand the truth of what's happening and you don't have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, then you know what's happening next. And again, I'm just going to look here at government current expenditures and interest payments. And do you think, pandemic right here, do you think this is sustainable? Or do you think we should do everything we can to lower the interest being paid on debt? You can see over here where we weren't doing too bad, and then we started going up, and then it got better, right? Because we lowered rates aggressively, and that got better. And then the interest on the debt looked good. Why wouldn't we want to bring this number down significantly? Why wouldn't we want to do that again and make it to where we're not paying the largest item on our balance sheet isn't interest on our debt? Why would we ever want that? Tell me, all you fucking macroeconomists in this world, tell me, why would we ever want to have unsustainable interest on our debt when we have the lever to lower it? We can literally lower it. Why wouldn't we do that, especially heading in to a technological renovation or innovation and revolution like we've never seen before in history? Why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we make our balance sheet sustainable when we have that fucking control as the world reserve currency? And what is going to be one of the best run governments on earth right now. And that's measurable, quantifiable data. You can compare our tax rate to what others are around the world. You can look at the difference and the financial drive to invest in this fucking country. That these are quantifiable things based upon the tariff differences in all the companies that are starting to build. You could see the deregulation. You could, if you watched Trump last week in one of his last speeches, you can listen to him talk about how he's brought times for spinning up energy and nuclear and all this other stuff and in manufacturing from years. Some people in some areas literally spending their fucking lives trying to get something built. Their lives. And dropping that down to weeks. 3 weeks, maybe 2. If you don't understand how different that is going forward, I can't help you. I can't help you. And there's a lot of people you can't help because, again, they're here for the short time. They're here for when they think things are good. And that's it. All right, I do want to see real quickly here. I need to take a restroom break super fast, but I want to get Hassett in here because, again, he's going to be our new Fed chairman. And so you should probably be listening to the A-team, right? You should be listening to the Kevin Hassetts. You should be listening to the Scott Bessents. They're the people that are going to be driving the world economically.
So much for being here, Kevin.
So 1 second, I'll be right back. I'm going to get a little bit of coffee too, since I got 6 minutes, and you guys enjoy, okay?
So, Mayor-elect Mamdani has touted 4 signature policies to help bring prices down for New Yorkers. There's universal child care, free buses, city-owned grocery stores, and a rent freeze on rent-stabilized apartments. Is there anything there that the White House will work with Mamdani on?
Look, President Trump made it clear that he loves New York City and he wants it to be successful. And he brought the mayor down to talk about basically those policies and other things that we could do to make life in New York more affordable. Now, none of those really jump off the page for me as really strong ideas. But I think that if Mamdani cares as much as he appears to for the people of New York, and President Trump obviously does, I think that there's a lot of positive work that can be done together.
Well, right before the election, President Trump threatened to withhold federal funding from New York City if Mamdani were elected. Was that just all bluster? He didn't mean it?
Well, it feels like he doesn't mean it now, and I guess we'll have to wait and see what Mamdani does. I think that we are really reassured that we've kept the police commissioner, and so in previous administrations in New York, we've seen law and order really go south. As you know, Jake, I've lived in New York quite a while. I was a professor at Columbia and NYU Law School, and New York always feels like the safety is on the edge. And so the fact that Mamdani, the mayor, has agreed to keep the police commissioner is a kind of sign that maybe he'll be able to work together with President Trump. We're sure hopeful that we can. And President Trump really wants to work with everybody who cares about the future of American people. We're at times disagreeing about policies, but I think that the objective of making life better for everybody is something that a lot of people share on the Democratic and Republican side.
Let's talk about affordability. In a Truth Social post, the president said prices are, quote, already coming down, unquote. Now, it is true, some items are coming down. That's accurate, but overall prices are going up. Prices in September were 1.4% higher than in January and 2.4% higher than they were in September 2024 under President Biden. Is this actual data being kept from President Trump?
No, look, the inflation is coming down. There are a lot of prices are coming down. Inflation is coming down. And I think that if you go year over year, then you're putting the really high Biden inflation years for the second half of last year, you're saying that's President Trump's fault. Don't forget that December and January, you're looking at 0.4s and 0.5s for inflation. So you multiply that by 12, you get really big inflation numbers. So inflation is coming down, and the prices of a lot of things are coming down. But the bottom line is, and this is something that I really would like to emphasize, is that because of the higher inflation and because of the higher interest rates, the typical mortgage for the average American in the U.S. went from about $1,200 to about $2,400. That's the monthly payment. At the same time, because grocery prices went up at 1.9%, on average 5%, then that added hundreds and hundreds of dollars more of expenses per month. We did some estimate at the National Economic Council that all in the extra monthly cost or extra annual cost for all that stuff, the higher mortgage and everything else under Joe Biden, was about $25,000 for a typical family. And so we're making progress. The mortgage rate has come down a couple $100 a month. A lot of grocery prices have leveled off or come down. But there's a lot of progress to be made, and we understand why people are frustrated. And it goes to show why inflation is such a terrible thing and it was such a powerful political influence. I'm sure that inflation is one of the main reasons why Trump won in a landslide.
Right, but the prices are up more than 2 percentage points from last September compared to September 2024 compared to today. And yesterday morning, President Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "I have just gotten the highest poll numbers of my political career. While my great work on the economy has not yet been fully appreciated, it will be. Things are really rocking." I don't know what poll numbers he's referring to because CBS News YouGov poll has 75% saying the president's not focused enough on lowering prices. Fox poll, Trump's lowest economic approval rating of his second term, just 38%, a plurality, saying he's actually making things worse. Vice President Harris writes in her book about President Biden, the top Biden aide, quote, Mike Donnellan, would filter the data from the polls and present the numbers in soothing terms, unquote. Is that happening with President Trump, too? Is he only getting the most positively skewed polling information?
Well, Jake, as you know, I'm not the poll expert, but the people that are briefing the president all the time. And the bottom line is that if you look at where the economy is moving, that there have been a lot of positive movements. And so you mentioned the prices. You keep going back to Joe Biden's higher prices in the fall, but real wages this year are up about $1,200 so far this year because of all the jobs that are being created by the trillions that are coming in for capital spending and so on. And real wages, which is real purchasing power, dropped about $3,000 under President Biden. And so I think in the end, people are going to look at their pockets and decide, am I ahead or am I not? And I think that they're going to find that they're ahead. There's one thing that we've also noticed, if you look at sentiment, which is
so I love Scott Bessent because he's so brilliant and he just seems so in control. And I love the fact that he's a gay man too, because I think that just drives the liberals probably crazy. They don't even want him to exist. But Kevin Hassett is so chill, and he's 100% right too. And imagine him as a Fed chairman. Just imagine it.
Isn't really polling, that sentiment tends to go really south where there's a government shutdown, and that's something that just happened out. We saw a Michigan survey that was very disappointing.
Talking about the government shutdown,
prices are about to get a whole lot worse.
They're setting up the Overton window for in the filibuster, if these bitches close this down again.
If Obamacare subsidies are not extended. There is a bill, a bipartisan bill in the House. Congressman Don Bacon is the lead Republican, or one of the lead Republicans on that, a Republican from Nebraska, to address some of the issues that Republicans have with the Obamacare premiums while also extending them. Is that something that President Trump would sign if it arrived on his desk, some sort of compromise to extend these premiums so many Americans, millions, don't have their premiums go up without any support?
Well, what President Trump has said is that he's looking forward to working together with Congress to work on this problem. The bottom line is that I think that what Republicans are saying is that when we started to put the big subsidies into Obamacare, that basically most of those subsidies went into the insurance company profits. And so, in fact, the inflation for the Obamacare premiums was about double that for private insurance.
So does it sound like insurance companies are going to be making really fat margins in the people? You guys tell me.
And so what President Trump has said is, let's give people the money in something like a health savings account and let them decide which Obamacare policy they want to buy. And
I fucking love that. I love that. I love simplifying the process, taking out the middlemen, giving the money to the end consumer. That there's stuff with the Department of Education guys and schooling that I want to talk about too, that is a similar approach. It is wiping out the Department of Education. They're talking about doing it right now. Another great interview that happened this weekend. And instead, eventually here, I think just giving vouchers, like give the money directly to the states, let the states compete for education, so that if they're doing a good job educating their students, then they'll be able to get businesses to come into the state. And what is the demand? Do you need manufacturing in your state? Do you need this? Shouldn't your education be geared towards that? They're talking about just doing things way differently. And maybe in the future, like somebody who, like me, who enrolled my daughter in a Montessori. Funny story, I accidentally just woke up my wife right now because I was thinking that my daughter needed to go to school. But my kid has these 6 weeks on now at the Montessori, and then they get a week off. And so their schedule is a lot different. I love it because then you could have a vacation like every 6 weeks. The 7th week you could have a vacation. But I forgot that was happening. And so I just woke up my wife and freaked her out. And she was not very happy. So I'm not going to do that again. But again, Montessori schools are great. And wouldn't it be awesome to be able to just get a check from the government if you're not enrolled in a traditional school? You can get a check to be able to decide where your kid goes to school instead of paying for the schools, which are probably poorly run, mismanaged, trying to get your kids to chop off their dicks. All this bullshit. Can you imagine just being able to pick the way that you teach your kid, or maybe be a stay-at-home parent that educates your children? If your wife wants to do that or whatever, guys too, I don't really give a shit. I think women are better with that kind of stuff because we're geared differently, but whatever. I think that this is great.
And that will help put downward pressure on these runaway premiums for Obamacare.
All right, that was the end of that. So again, I think just really good stuff that we're hearing, guys. Really, really good stuff. Joe, Carla Sayer, what does he do again? Commercial litigator supporting Bitcoin, poker, life is on the wire. Yeah, okay. So he's a lawyer based out of Illinois. I love the new flag. I love knowing where people are, guys. That's another thing. We got a bunch to talk about too. We've got Bitcoin related stuff, talking about MicroStrategy and everything that's going on there. There's so much happening. But Joe said, this is ridiculous, Fred. He goes on, and not even close. Why promote that garbage? So Fred was promoting garbage that basically said that the Cayman Islands was the largest holder of our debt. And it's not true. It's nothing like that. He said Japan at 1.1 trillion. Again, we've got swap lines with them. We're going to take care of them. Nobody's talking about the Japanese yen carry trade this week. I don't think you're going to hear anybody talking about it for a while, too. We got China that owns 0.86. We got United Kingdom at 0.67. And we got the Cayman Islands that came in at 0.28 to 0.3. So certainly not this big thing right here. And again, we can implement yield curve control. We don't need to do what people are saying we need to do. And just a reminder, this is El Salvador. Imagine how beautiful and safe. It's sad when El Salvador, who had the highest crime in North and South America years ago, is now one of the most beautiful and safest places. I wonder what they did. Maybe we should emulate it. Just a thought. I want to real quickly jump over to Trump news real quick because there's just a ton of it. I'm trying to avoid a lot of the bad stuff, but this one right here, Ron DeSantis said voting by phone. No, how ridiculous. Eric Swalwell said that people, I want us to be able to vote by phone. I want us to max out democracy. How the fuck do you confirm who's, whatever. It's too stupid to even talk about. Also, Trump's White House, I think they're gonna win the Supreme Court ruling. They've won over 90% of them. I don't think that's going to be any different. But if for some reason they didn't win with tariffs, they've got fallbacks. They've got other plans like Section 122 and Section 338 that have not been used yet. And there's just other tools in the tool chest where they can just keep kicking the can down the road. And if it's a year and a half, 2 years before the Supreme Court can actually do anything about this, it's going to be such a nightmare. They'll have no way to reverse it. I'm actually not worried about tariffs coming to an end. I think people that believe that's true aren't paying attention. Here's Scott Bessent in a post, again, talking about ending the filibuster, moving the Overton window. I put Democrats are ill-prepared for real Donald Trump's constant forward momentum. He just operates at a pace that Washington is not used to. He operates at a pace of private sector. So what are we talking about here? Breaking in a massive development, President Trump is expected to announce the Health Care Price Cuts Act. So again, he already bypassed the middlemen for drugs, and we're already making it to where all these GLP-1 drugs that people are so excited about are going to be astronomically cheaper than what they were. And I mean by like 75, 80% reductions in the price, right? So not only did we do that stuff recently, but at the same time, he's trying to wipe out Obamacare and replace it with something that's a lot better. He said, as soon as tomorrow, to fix the broken Obamacare subsidy system that gives billions to big insurance. Again, they gave a bunch of money to them in these subsidies. They just jacked up the price. They're making a bunch in margins. That's going to go away. Maybe a decent thing to short. I don't know. I stay away from companies and sectors I don't know, but I don't see that being positively for insurance companies that are in the medical field. He has officially cornered the Democrats on Obamacare. They will now defend big, rich insurance. I think that's great come election time, too. The bill would halt Obamacare premium spikes per MS Now. The plan reportedly includes a deposit mechanism, putting money into a health savings account. This is what Hassett was talking about for a second, incentivizing lower premium options. It would also end the premium hikes and end zero premium subsidies and stop massive fraud known as ghost beneficiaries. Trump recently said, I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the massive amount of money be paid directly to the people so that they can buy their own health care. We will put a lot of money to the people and forget this Obamacare madness. I think this is what should and what will end up happening. Also this weekend, we've got people in Queens, New York City, burning down a security car in a neighborhood while they're doing one of these things. They also beat the shit out of a white guy and his wife who were trying to get these guys to stop doing what they were doing. They pummeled them. Of course they did. We shouldn't have cities that are run this way. This will not be happening in the future. And whether you're black, white, or whoever the fuck you are, if you want to commit crime, get ready to go to prison. If that percentage of people is higher in the black community, so be it. Raise your fucking kids better. Raise your kids not to think that they deserve everything in life because of the color of their skin. Raise your kids to believe that meritocracy rules and that you can be anything you want to be if you try hard enough. Raise your kids that way. Otherwise, say goodbye to them because they're going to fucking prison. This is a good post from Sarah Sizzles. She said, if you went to school before the 2000s, how many kids did you know with gender dysphoria? I can tell you how many I knew. 0. Not fucking one. Not one. Now, were there people that were transgender that liked to dress up like girls? Sure. You actually didn't see, and the ones that dressed, or the ones that were girls that dressed like boys, we called them town boys. And then that's what it was. And then some of them were lesbians. And then the guys that like to dress, a lot of them seemed pretty gay. And that's what it was. And it was fucking simple. And if you liked both, they called you bi. It was a simpler time. But now you're supposed to chop off your fucking dick when you're 8 and start taking hormones because you're obviously something else that needs to be modified. But you'll never reach that because the science won't let you right now. And that's the world we fucking created. And I think that's a shit fucking world. And if people disagree with me, cool, have your own opinion. You're wrong. Elon Musk, it is the only way. Nayib Bukele, they say you can't imprison your way out of crime. But in fact, a strong police force and tough, well-managed prison system are necessary first steps in transforming a hellscape into a safe, high-trust society. What they don't show you with Nayib Bukele is the other prison. They show you the max, right? They show you the one where people are sitting 50, 60 of these fucking gangbangers to a cell that have gang tattoos all over them, that are treated like the dogs they turn themselves into. Their lives are ruined. It is a sad fucking state of affairs. But they're done. But what you don't see is you don't see the majority of the prisoners, which are ones that can be rehabilitated, that are turning into teachers and that are training people in skills and that are giving back to their community and cleaning up and helping out in all kinds of ways so that when they leave prison, they have a job and they have something to live for. You don't see that, but that's what we're going to do. And again, another great video from the education secretary talking about how we're going to pit states against each other to fight to make it to where we're a better fucking place to live. If some states fail, let them fail. And then you know what's going to happen? They're going to be like, shit, all these people are moving to Florida. All these people are moving to Texas. They're doing everything right. We're losing. They're educating their people. We need to fucking compete. And then they'll get better. And that's how it works. It's called a free market. We have a free market of 50 fucking states. And a bunch of them can do it wrong. But if the federal government doesn't fuck with them and intervene with their lives, some of them can do it right. I'm in a mood today, man. Thank you guys for the memberships. Really appreciate it. The Bitcoin therapist, holy shit, Mike Alfred, saying, and you got to realize Elon Musk followed this guy like a week and a half ago, okay? Mike Alfred is very real. He knows a lot of people. He's very connected. Hopefully not Epstein connected, but he's connected. Loves his wine, loves steaks, tomahawks, all that shit, right? But he said, Donald Trump, Scott Bessent, and allies are working on a multi-step plan to bolster Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, and stablecoins while simultaneously defunding JP Morgan, the Fed, and the U.S. banking cabal to protect U.S. citizens. The administration views it as a defining battle. Now, people think that he's telling them something secret, right? That they wouldn't already know. And it's not true. This is literally everything they've already told us they're going to do. He's just repackaging it. Okay? And people eat it up like, oh my God, the prophecy has been spoken. But all he's doing is just telling you what they said they were going to do. Elon Musk, the will of the people should be made law. Voter ID. 84% of people believe voter ID should be required. Why the fuck wouldn't we do that? That's going to be the big thing next year. And again, we can always remove the filibuster. That's how we fix these problems. And if we do everything right, like I believe we're doing right now, people are going to vote Republican, and then we can do everything we need to protect this democracy and at the same time make this country great again and make the world a better place and lead by example. I can see it happening all over the world right now. It's getting better. People just don't look at it, and I don't know why. Department of Government Efficiency. Contracts update. Over the last 9 days, agencies have terminated and de-scoped 78 wasteful contracts with a ceiling value of almost $2 billion and a savings of $335 million, including 616,000 HHS IT service contracts for social media monitoring platform subscription. Why? Anyway, there's more to it. What else do we have? 191,000 for U.S. AGM broadcasting contract for broadcast operations and maintenance in Ethiopia and Africa, and a $4.3 million IRS IT service contracts for the Inflation Reduction Act transformation project management support. We're making government more efficient. And again,
most productive and meaningful meeting so far in this entire process.
So Marco Rubio is telling you, we'll skip right there, that this is the most productive meeting he's seen throughout the entirety of the Russia-Ukraine war, that this is the best, that we're getting closer than we've ever gotten before. You can fade that if you want to. Marco Rubio is probably one of the smartest people in politics, but fade it. No, that's cool. You're good. Eric, just now, President Trump, we must focus all our energy on election fraud. Again, he's moving the Overton window. He's saying we can't have the Democrats destroying our economy and being obstructionists. We can't exist without ensuring that our elections, which are an integral part of our country and our history and our success, we can't exist if we don't ensure that they're going to be accurate going forward, and we have to nuke the filibuster to do it. And you've got Hassett and Bessent, all these people saying the same things. We're going to be going, these people probably going to prison, the people that own this company. If you own Falcon Trucking School, SLC, you should probably run. You should probably try and get the fuck out of the country as quickly as you can. I think it's probably too late. But they advertise getting your CDL in less than 2 weeks, and they're being exposed for allegedly facilitating CDL license approval for migrants and foreigners who can hardly speak or read English. And there's a bunch of these that occurred too. People that would basically, I hate the word basically. I do that to my daughter all the time too. She says it all the time because of me. They went in and did tests for the drivers, pretending they were them, and they would wear like hoodies and all this stuff and hide their identity, and they would pretend they're the driver, and then they would go take the test and they would pass it. That's the things that were happening. The Muslim Brotherhood is being designated a terrorist organization. This will help with a lot of things. Saudi Arabia designates them as that. Maybe we should too. We've got another Somalian, this time 77th person convicted in Minneapolis caught taking government money meant to feed children while running out of a corner store. He said he provided 300,000 meals. 0 have been delivered. Every dollar went straight to his pockets. These people are robbing the poor and pilfering their state. And in some cases, that's going to terrorist organizations to do horrible things around the world. And these fuckers have been doing this the whole time. And now, wow, the cussing thing isn't really working out today. Now Trump designated that the program that protected the Somali immigrants be removed, and so that they could deport some of these people. From what I understand, that only affects 700 people right now. A lot of people have already become citizens, but we will imprison the ones that deserve to go to prison. And we won't allow this segregation to exist in our cities where entire communities are building up to hate the country that they've moved to. If you guys don't remember our first view of Somalia, when they were dragging our troops through the street after they had beat them fucking dead and had them naked, that's Somalia. And there's good and bad people, obviously. There's people that, just like the Nigerians, that are being persecuted because of their faith and not being Islam. But we need to drive the people that hate this fucking country out of this country. We start doing that by things like what X did this weekend, where they, look at this anti-Trump account, Ron Smith, self-deleted. Can you imagine? And there's so many others like this. There are people that had 1 million+ followers that ended up disappearing because they acted like they were one thing and they weren't. This account was based out of Kenya. All right, that's enough. We talked about enough about Trump stuff. We're good for a while. But we will make Central and South America great. We will grab a portion of Canada if we need to. And we're not done with Greenland yet. These things aren't done. They're very real. I hope you realize that. Real quickly, BTC, let's go. Yeah, we're going to get a bounce, man. It's going to happen. So in case you guys have been under a rock for the last 48 hours, we've got JP Morgan doing bad things. JP Morgan sold 772,453 shares of MicroStrategy. There also appears to be a concerted effort to try and hurt this company, and again, actively pushing in articles and other things, saying that MicroStrategy is going to be delisted when they're shorting it and selling shares from the MSCI because of the fact that there's some kind of concern that should be there. There shouldn't be a concern. As Michael Saylor has said, As long as Bitcoin goes up 1.25% a year, we can pay the dividend forever. If Bitcoin stops going up, we've got 80 years to figure out what we're going to do. I think they'll be all right. And Adam Livingston, he's got a brother, Aaron. I made a post today. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? But it's his twin brother, I guess, or something. But he was talking about Bitcoin, too. Threw me off a little bit. But BitPain latched onto his idea about boycotting JP Morgan. They're saying, close your accounts, tell your friends to do this. These guys help protect predators with Jeffrey Epstein, even after a conviction, years after a conviction. They allowed that to happen. And now they're attacking the Bitcoin space. And it's not just MicroStrategy. They're doing this with Metaplanet, too. No wonder the treasuries have been taking a shit. They've been attacking them because they want to defend their industry. And they want to protect pedophiles. They want to defend their industry, and they want to profit. And they don't want people being able to have cheaper ways to be able to store their money and ways that benefit them more financially. They don't want that. They want to be the middlemen. They want to control it. They've done that for a long time. They probably think they're righteous in doing it. We shouldn't let them. We shouldn't let them. That was my message there. I'm going to go to AI and chips real quick. So my buddy Cantonese Cat. Never mind. I'm not going to say what I was thinking. Cypher and Iron are holding monthly Ichimoku clouds. Tenkin and Kijon, I say these so badly, as support for the month of November so far. You can tell I don't use this one a lot, but I have seen the cloud work miracles in the past, and it's lining up with everything I believe. So I do believe that Cypher and Iron are going to be good. I might move a little bit of my Iron and my tax-advantaged account over to Cypher because I think it's going to perform better. Cypher's up between 4 and 5% in pre-market right now. Iron's up about 2.5 to 3. CleanSpark is up 5.4. So again, I think I'm going to move a little bit of that around. That's my idea. Also, Elon, Tesla to build more AI chips than everyone else combined. I don't know if people are thinking about this. Seems like kind of a big deal to me for Tesla and for the future of every one of Elon's companies. Tesla's wrapping design on its AI 5 chip and already firing up work on AI 6, according to Elon, who wants a new chip every 12 months. Every year, Elon's going to have a new chip. The current AI 4 is in cars now. AI 5 is nearly ready. AI 6 on deck and headed for Tesla vehicles and data centers. Samsung's $16.5 billion Texas fab deal will mass produce it. We expect to build chips at higher volumes ultimately than all other chips combined. Read that sentence again, as I'm not kidding. These chips will profoundly change the world in positive ways, saving millions of lives due to safer driving and providing advanced medical care to all people via Optimus. Can you imagine a world where the entire supply chain for chips for Tesla is controlled by Tesla? Yeah, I don't like calls right now. They'll probably turn out all right, but I just really don't like, whether they're leaps or not, I don't like calls in crypto. I still like, if you're going to do it in HPC is probably a better way to do it. So, I mean, I can't say that Cypher or Iron or some of these, if there's anything I have higher conviction on right now in the Bitcoin space, it would be the hyperscaling ones that are able to adapt quickly and that are getting these big contracts. So that might be all right, dude. I can't shit on that as much as I can other things. And I love leaps. 116.26 doesn't feel like a leap. I like the cheapness. It could be a bet that turns out really well. But Cypher Mining signs additional 56 megawatt 10-year AI hosting agreement with FluidStack. In this transaction, Cypher will deliver a 39 megawatt of critical IT load to FluidStack at its Barber Lake site, securing $830 million in contracted revenue over the initial 10-year agreement. The agreement also includes a 2 5-year extension option if exercised. This extension options would bring the total contracted to $2 billion for this transaction and $9 billion in total for the entire lease. These are good things. Said to support the build out of Google will backstop an additional $333 million of FluidStack's lease. These hyperscalers are starting to get more and more involved in what's going on within the HPC space. Like, these are the little guys. They were Bitcoin miners, but they're really getting in on it. And I think some of them are going to be very well positioned. And I think Cypher sounds like one of them. And I trust Mike Alfred. Not all the time, because he does have a sarcastic sense of humor. I wanted to talk about this again. So just briefly, I wanted to talk about the fact that that there is the Peter Diamandis has a show that he does. I can't remember what it's called, but it goes over AI. Dr. Alex Wisner-Gross is one of the people that appears on the show. He lives in Cambridge, Mass. He's like, I don't know if he's got like 3 PhDs and Ivy League schools, but he's one of the most brilliant people. If you know who Sheldon is from The Big Bang Theory, he is Sheldon, probably better mannered, but he is brilliant. And these people all talk, and there's a bunch of moonshots. Thank you. And there's a bunch of really brilliant people that are like, again, Ivy League schools or within business within this sector, or very focused on it. Peter Diamandis is all about life extension, stuff like that, all about medical and all these things. And all of them are showing the advancements that have happened and how quickly they're happening and just how much things are changing. And it is phenomenal. And they meet a couple times a week. You would do yourself a huge favor to actually listen to them. And then again, remember, Michael Burry, just because Michael Burry has called the recession 30 times since 2009 and got them right, the timing right 1 or 2 times out of them, doesn't make him right. GPUs older than 5 years are still being used at 100% utilization rate, so it's not crazy to expense things out for 6. All right, real quickly here. Did we listen to Hassett all the way? I can't remember. Did we? I feel like we did. He's talking again. I don't know how it's possible, but he's talking again. All right, let me go back over here. So I think we're good on that front. I'm going to go to Tesla real quick, and then I'm going to go to Bitcoin, and then we're going to look at charts. We got 25 minutes until things fire up here. We got Tesla's resumed sales of the Model S and X in China. Sales were stopped in April due to tariffs. So Tesla's found a way to continue to sell. Great. Elon Musk reiterates that 99.8% of all mass in our solar system is the sun, and that it doesn't really matter all the other stuff. Like you could burn up all of Jupiter, you could light a fire on Uranus. Doesn't really matter. The best way to absorb energy is through the sun. And so they were talking about data centers in space and how much cheaper the economics would be for that. And Elon Musk is one of the people driving it, and he's brilliant. So what's happening. This is why China loses and why China will continue to be a loser. This is a car that has an ejectable battery pack in case there's a fire. Now, instead of implementing first principles, and again, guys, I think the market's going to go down a little bit heading into this morning, and then we're going up, okay? Zcash, I don't give a shit about Zcash. I know it's being pushed by a number of prominent people. I'm not sure why. And maybe there's more to it, but it's definitely not Bitcoin. It's just not. I used to run Zcash miners back in the day in 2017. That was one of the main things that I mined. It's just not. It's fork, but it's not Bitcoin, and it's not where the development dollars are going. But there will be a market, a black market will always be available, and Zcash is a little harder to find information than Bitcoin is. I should say probably a lot harder, but it's not impossible. Anyway, I think this is a stupid idea. I think first principles would dictate that you not have fires. That's what Tesla's done, and they don't. You can have vehicles that get hit, that do head-ons at 100 miles an hour, and they don't catch on fire with Tesla. But what do these guys do? This is what they do. And imagine this. Imagine you're standing to the right of this on a sidewalk, and the thing starts on fire, and then it ejects this at you while this thing is just incinerating like a volcano. You fall onto it because it knocks you over. It incinerates you while it sets the building that you're standing next to on fire.
In China, engineers have built a system that can eject an electric car's battery during a fire. Sensors inside the car detect signs of overheating.
And so again, instead of my problem, it is now your problem. As you're standing in the sidewalk, it takes you out and a couple of other people. It incinerates you in a matter of seconds. So you're already dead. And then it starts the building on next to you on fire. This is the innovation that China is so good at offering.
The idea is simple. Remove the fire before it's...
You can also get a supercar that hops like a bunny rabbit. Isn't that cool? Very exciting.
Spreads, keeping the car and passengers safe.
You can get another car that you can just turn like this. Not even a tank turn. It can just turn, and it can destroy your tires. Very exciting.
In China, engineers have built a system that can...
Anyway, so I think Tesla does it better. Also, Cybertruck, I love this, and I had to post it. My friend Dr. Jack had it on here. He's great, by the way. And he really cares about people's health. He even reached out to me when I was having having problems with my stomach and with my nut. So, very good guy. Royce, how long did it take you to get to stage 7? So, I actually did all of this in one night. Shock was when I saw the Cybertruck. I thought it was ugly. I was in disbelief, and I literally turned off the rest of the quarterly not the quarterly update, but the product reveal. I didn't even fucking watch it. I was so pissed because I was long Tesla and I thought I was going to lose a lot of money. And I did for a short period of time. And then I was at the when I woke up in the morning, and then I heard what it could do. And then I was like, oh, motherfucker. And then I decided that I thought I loved it, but could have hated it. I wasn't sure. All by that morning. And then I ordered 2. And now I can tell you with ease, all other trucks are dead to me. Even Jack Dorsey said over the weekend that the Cybertruck is the best truck and best car on the planet. Anyway, there's more with Tesla, but that's a lot of it. I loaded up at .99. Oh, you guys are talking about ASST? Yeah, I think ASST is going to do all right. I think the one thing you have to remember is I think of this as more of a long-term play over the next year plus. I'm not looking to make quick money off of it. If we do, great. But there are a lot of warrant contracts that are around this 135 level. So I'm not even looking at Bitcoin as making a lot of money right now, even though I do think that the bull market is not over. So I own some of this, and I think we could get a 30% pop stupid easy, but I think we could grind here for a while before we end up breaking higher, because again, the warrants have 11 more months and there's a little bit of downside pressure. That said, if Bitcoin starts to take off, we might eat through that really quickly. And then we've got a gap that takes us all the way up to here. So could it go 700%? Maybe. I look at this. These are the guys that want to replace BlackRock. I look at it as that kind of investment. So I own a little right now. I plan on owning more in the future, especially if they execute. And I love the way that they're structured with their preferred. I love that they're offering so much. I love that they have no debt whatsoever right now. And I just love, and I like the warrant design because, again, it gives them plenty of time to be able to execute, and with a little bit of dilution, but no debt. And so this company is just really well poised to take advantage of if there is further downside price action, to take advantage of that. And if we trade sideways for a while, to take advantage of that. And even if we go up, to take advantage of this while Bitcoin is at $86,000, a little bit less than that right now. So I like ass and titties. I'll always be a fan of it. And that will probably never change unless they really, really harm me in some way. Stony, futures looking up. Yeah, maybe, right? Let's look. What are we looking at? We'll look at futures real quick here. Let's see what they're sitting at. Give me 1 second. Oh, there we go. We got futures, guys. Futures. Baba had a good day in the futures. Google, 4.52. Tesla, 2.4. Got some beast mode going up in this bitch, guys. It looks like people aren't, well, some people are dialing into risk, but it looks like people are dying into their core convictions. I like that. If there's a core conviction in China, Baba would probably be it, even though China's a mess and you shouldn't invest. But Tesla's going to be one in the United States. Google had really great results. Their Gemini is just beautiful, their latest version. Oh, I got to turn my ringer down. It's annoying. But so I think this is a good sign. It's a good sign for the start of the week. And again, after such a massive drop of what we've had recently, and the CNN Fear and Greed Index, what is it sitting at right now? Is it still at 11? Still pretty deep in extreme fear right now, guys. When you have that and then you can't drop further, you're going to go up. You're just going to go up. And let's look here. On the crypto side, we're at 19. We're still in it. Let's look here on the coin market side. Do you think CleanSpark announces it? I think I'm more excited about CleanSpark than I've been in a long time. I don't know if my calls are probably gone. They're gone. I haven't looked. They're gone. So whatever. That was a loss. It's $1 million. It's kind of a bummer. I should have got out of that shit quicker. Whatever. It's on me, right? Can't blame anybody else. Gonna blame myself. But, and again, we just got so fucked in that in such a quick time. Everybody thought we were going to get a really good rally. We were literally, it looked like we were going to back test over here, even here, after breaking out of a trend that went all the way back to 2018. And then we just got our ass handed to us, basically doing a complete retrace of everything. But now we bounced off peak volumes. Again, peak volumes over a the existence of the country, right? And or a company, not a country. And I think this thing can go up 222% pretty easy. And I think if they get really good contracts and they do a really good job managing their company, which I think Schultz is probably capable of, I think this can go higher. But I think 222% is not an insane number for CleanSpark to go up if they start getting some good contracts. And Bitcoin isn't done yet. I think Bitcoin could still go to the 130s, maybe even 150, 160 range. And again, maybe it doesn't happen for a while. Maybe Bitcoin lags and HPCs do good and other parts of the market do good. Maybe that's the approach, but I still think the S&P looks locked and loaded, guys. It's a beautiful chart. Emil, damn, balls of steel. Yeah, I wish my balls would be happier. I mean, my entire body would be happier and mind if I would have just sold. But you get greedy sometimes. I'm all about leaps, and I tell people that short-dated stuff is bullshit. And then I only had like 30-ish days plus left on these calls, and I didn't sell them when I was up hundreds of percent. I sold 55% of them. I didn't sell the other 45. That's on me. It's just bad decision making. What time frame for Bitcoin to 150? It's hard to say. And again, I'm not in any way leveraged with Bitcoin or crypto right now. Not at all. The only long options I have right now are TLT, of which I constantly get the reassurance of the federal government that we're going to break this bitch out and it's going to go higher. And so this is an insurance plan. If you believe that the government is competent and we could have a slowdown for a period of time, then this is an insurance plan. Right now, these bonds are still down 50% from where they were at their high at the start of the pandemic. Or shortly after the start of the pandemic, right? So, and before we thought inflation was transitory. CleanSpark announced the appointment of Jeffrey Thomas, a senior VP of AI data centers, October 20th. Yeah, no, I saw that. Thomas previously led Humane's multi-billion-dollar AI data center program in Saudi Arabia. That's not a bad title, is it? I'm very excited about CleanSpark. CleanSpark up 6.4% in pre-market after getting absolutely fucking destroyed for the last month. Along with a lot of the AI HPC space. 5.51% is what Cypher's up right now, and then 3.1% is what Iron is up. How much did Saudi just give Trump? They're talking about $1 trillion over the next 5 years, I think it was, if I remember the terms correctly. But yeah, so this is looking good. We're getting closer to a breakout. Again, if we're a month out here, then we've got a breakout right here where this coincides. Worst case, we're looking at the middle of next year, seeing a breakout in rates where the trough is to 110, and that is a 22% increase. And I can get anywhere from 10 to 20x that number. So I can get 200%, maybe 250, 300% returns if we do fall into the trough. And the trough is very real. If you zoom out, that's the trough, right? So it's very easy to get up to this fib level, or actually at least to this 110 level, maybe even up to the 111, 112 range. And if you look, it's not historically insane for this to happen. Look at this 38% move in less than a year. Look at this 36% move. Look at this 33% move, this 32% move, this 25, this 21. This is a very volatile thing, and the government's incentive is to have this go higher. So I feel very good about this play. That's where I have leaps right now. That go out to anywhere to January 2027. And then ARCG, again, I'm going all the way out to 2028 to give success here. And the people I'm listening to, Peter Diamandis and Moonshots and all these other AI and genomic experts and people like Mark Zuckerberg are all telling me that we're going to solve a lot of things in science. And so if we can go, what is it even right now? If we can go up 108%, even to this first one at 67, I'm making millions and millions of dollars off of ARCG. If we get up to 110% in the next year, I can make 5 to 7, 8 million, probably 5 to 7 at least on ARCG. If we go up, if we double in a year. And this thing only has 1.07 billion assets under management. And people like Jordi Visser are starting to talk about how at least Eli Lilly, who's building out this big data center, and maybe, again, other genomic companies can start using AI and really progressing, that we could be seeing some breakouts and stuff like genomics and drugs. And I think that's true. Jim Craner posted on X, the future shouldn't be higher. We're going higher, folks. That's a good sign, Kirby. Gnome says, Jesse, can you share a list of your favorite book recommendations? I read a couple of them. Yeah, I can do that. I'll try and find another good list. I know there's one from Naomi Brockwell. No, what is her name? Oh my God, I can't remember it off the top of my head. Anyway, she's got a new book, and I want to read that. There's a lot of other really good books that deal with economics. There's ones that are good with life. I retired because I read The 4-Hour Work Week and The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So if your goal is to have more time and not to have to worry about work and to be able to figure out who you want to be when you grow up, and have to deal with too much time on your hands, I think The 4-Hour Work Week and The Art of Not Giving a Fuck are really good ones. Jesse, which ARC-G calls do you like the best? I don't know. I have a bunch. It depends on your time frame. I've got some that expire in January. Those could go to dust. I don't have a lot of money in those anymore. It's about $40,000. I've got 5,600 contracts in that. They were up 40% on Friday. They could go up a lot. So right now those contracts are down $400,000, but then I have others that are up over 100K and up more. And I've got like June of 2026 at 48. I've got January of 2027 at 40. And I've got January of 2028 at 46 with 60 grand sitting in that. But I've got $620,000 in ARC-G calls. Sitting right around 3 million in my portfolio, guys. I've been just under that and above it for a while now. But I think I'm really well positioned going forward to take advantage of the market going up. And if the market doesn't go up, but I think it's going to go up. But those are the ARC-G calls that I have. Went long, 10 calls, leap. I've got over 10,000 calls for ARC-G over different time frames. Steak and eggs. I've got June 2026 MicroStrategy 315 leaps. What do you think the odds are? I don't know if that's enough time, but I do believe that MicroStrategy is overdue for a bounce. So I think you'll have the ability to exit those. You just might not want to be too greedy, but man, if there's ever going to be a bottom, it's now. Why do I say that? Oh, that's not what I wanted to move. I'm going to have to fix that. Because we dropped 69%. So 2/3 of the price, right? 2/3 of the price. So I think, let me lock this real quick so I don't lose it. I think that if you're going to bet on something like a 335, now is the time to do it. Now, you will have resistance. Again, like the easiest path, it's easy to get to 225. It's a very easy upside move. This is nothing. You're not really even fighting resistance when we go up 30%. So if you made a bunch of money over that time, you could sell some, maybe take out your initial investment when you get a quick 30% move, because that's probably coming fast. And then maybe when you get to 274, or honestly, 250 to 274, you want to sell some more. And then up here, 330, you want to sell a little bit more. But if you're really bullish, again, you can wait, till 400. This thing could come back really fast. It is incredibly oversold. We got down to, I don't even know what we got down to because we're past it. We got down to 24 on the daily. And the weekly, we got to 27. MicroStrategy is incredibly oversold. The bullish, or I should say the bearish divergence that had been forming since 2021 is essentially playing out now. It's pretty done, in my opinion. And we could stop up here again. If we get to like an 85, or even if we get up to like 60 or 70 on the RSI, we could stop. But then I think it's going to be, and we could just retrace a little bit, but then I think it's going to be higher. I think it's going to be higher ultimately. So if you're looking out a year or two, this is a great time to be in it. June of 2026, a little sketch, but again, you have plenty of time, I think, to make money on that and then to become more conservative. And you could just end up holding it and have it do really great. But again, you know the way I feel about leaps. That's my thought there. Do we have more Clean Spark? Natalie Brunell. Oh my God. How was I so... Thank you. Brain just went poof. All right, so let's look here. Let's keep going. What else we got? Bitcoin. 2 banks hold short positions that together reach almost 15% of the entire free float of MetaPlanet. The conduct shown by J.P. Morgan and Morgan Stanley speaks clearly to their intent and the kind of companies that they are. You notice Goldman Sachs. You could see some hedging by like Jefferies, UBS, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, but this is an attack. J.P. Morgan and Morgan Stanley are an attack. If you bank with either one of those, I would start moving your money away. And just like Grant Cardone's doing, he closed his J.P. Morgan account over fraud and Epstein links. We have them attacking Jack Mallers and other people in the Bitcoin space. Again, they also were the same people that got sued by the Trump administration for attacking him and debanking him, along with many others. I think it's important that these guys pay the ultimate price, and pulling our money away from them. I don't even bank with them. I stopped a while ago once I heard about the Epstein stuff. So I don't even bank with them at all. But if you're smart, I think it makes sense to not bank with them, to pull your money away and to support companies that support Bitcoin and crypto. And I think there's better ones like Hood. I think there's better ones that have actual banking licenses like SoFi. Those are the companies you need to be doing business with and be invested in. It's not J.P. Morgan Chase. They're the old. They're the old, and they're dying, and they're fighting Bitcoin at tooth and nail, and it's not going to matter. They're still going to die. Bitcoin's weekly RSI. Look at this. Boom, 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 boom. We're in the boom zone. Whether we drop a little further from here or not, it doesn't really matter. We didn't go up that much, so the drop is very strong by comparison. Could be a fake out. You just have to remember that. Or if it goes down, whatever. I don't have as much in it because I don't really include my HPCs as being directly correlated to Bitcoin's price right now. Even though they both do well with greater liquidity, I think HPC has another driving factor that's key that's going to stick around with all of it. Jesse, which ArcG calls do you like the best? I can't really say that. I like them being staggered. I think January is too soon. And I have over 5,600 contracts. So I don't like that. And if anything, I'll be putting downward pressure on it. And I believe a lot of other people bought similar contracts that I hold myself. So I wouldn't encourage anybody for going that short of a time frame. Maybe June looks better. I do think that June of 2026 and January of 2027 are probably good ones. I've got 48 and 40 price targets. I picked the 40 on the 2027s because I just wanted to be really conservative. But again, I think those, you could pick different price levels, watch my Options 101 video, but I like June of 2026 and January 2027, and I've still went ahead and bought $60,000 for 2028 because, again, it's trying to stagger my risk and make it to where if my timing is wrong, I still can succeed because the other ones catch up. Can you bank with Robinhood? I don't think you can technically yet. I don't think they're technically a full-service bank yet. Am I wrong, guys? I don't think they are. But I do think that's where they're headed, maybe. And you can essentially use them as a bank. They're just not a fully compliant bank. Carl Minger said, to dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. And what is he telling us here? He's telling us if you're a little biatch, then you're not going to make it. Because you wouldn't have made it through 2012, 2013, 2016, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 18, 2020, or 2021. But these are the deepest drops, right? These are some of the deepest drops right here. And what are we scared of? What are we scared of right now, guys? How far have we dropped already? Let's just do the math here real quick, okay? We've already dropped 35%. What are you scared of? Are you scared that we drop another 15, another 20? The most likely scenario when we go back through these times? Or that it's a bear market and that you have to wait several years until you make shit tons of money? What are we scared of? If you're diversified enough, you shouldn't be scared of anything. And if you've got a good picture of the world. Vivek, Reuters just said China is opening its doors for Bitcoin mining. I haven't read this whole article yet. I'm going to hit this and see if we get anything of substance. The X-Post sensationalizes a Reuters article from November 24th reporting China's Bitcoin mining has rebounded to third globally. Is that true? One second here. I got to find my... Nope. Is it this one? Yeah, there we go. So China, 21% of the hash. So there's America. there's Kazakhstan, or I'm sorry, there's America, China, and then Kazakhstan. I think they're second. I think that article is wrong. So they're the second largest hash. But here's what I love is that they only have 21% and we have almost 38. And then I love that Canada has 6.5. I love that other democracies around the world do hold a decent amount. But we're definitely winning. Now, Kazakhstan is almost a part of Russia/China lately. They're both fighting over it. So that could be sketchier, but I think we're doing so good on this. I'm not worried about it at all. But interesting article, nonetheless. The faster the drop, the better the bounce. Yes, exactly. As long as whatever you own is real. Accompanying images of G informal. So again, though it defies the 2021 nationwide ban without official reversal. So again, people are breaking the law, but there's things that are acceptable that are against the law, and there's things that aren't. I'm sure if they pay enough to government officials, it's overlooked. So, yeah, so they're still fighting in contention too, and I believe that we're still very bullish on Bitcoin. The world wants it, even though they can say they don't. And again, Jack Mallers with his letter showing that he was debanked on September 2nd of 2025 by Chase Bank. Fuck these people. Ethereum, Cantonese Cat, showing you what looks to me like a breakout if we look at the monthly candles. Or I'm sorry, yearly. He's doing 12-month. This looks beautiful. And so is Ethereum going to break out? I think so. I got like 100K in BMNR. Let's let it happen. This one I love because, again, it's Cantonese Cat, but he's so great. He must be worried about the 4-year cycle. What if I'm not bullish enough? I think a lot of people are worried about this. I think they're worried. People that were bears are now like, even Chicken Genius, like a week or something before we dropped even further, was getting bullish. I think people are worried about not being bullish enough. Sir, our plan may have backfired. The Maxis are blaming JP Morgan. There's talk of a bank run and shorting our stock, also calling you Epstein banker. Again, that hurts. And I just said Friday we had the largest, we just had the bell, ding, 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 ding. We had the largest daily volume candle since February, over 9 months ago, which marked the last local bottom in Bitcoin's price action. It's time to bounce. And you got Mike Alfred saying, hey guys, I'm going to straight shoot you. This move down has created a little bit of additional work for Bitcoin to reach Valhalla. There's no way around it. It's going to take a little time. It's possible we don't see 150,000 till March. Hard to hear. Life is tough. I actually agree with that. I think we could at least get 130s, probably like by January, and or again March at the latest. We'd see a high here, and I think it's going to end up going higher. We have ETH BTC again. The most likely thing is that we continue to see the market doing better if we believe that the fundamentals are going to be better heading into next year, and I believe that's true. So we got ETH BTC ratio. Again, it's getting ready to do a breakout. The question is, which way is it going to go? We'll find out soon enough. Not all my eggs are in this basket, but I got a little basket. Wiz, we're going to see. Nobody should say that. No, I got a little basket. The biggest Ethereum ETF, ETH, has a ton of 13F filings in November. Institutions are buying in. This is crazy, right? Like all of a sudden, we're seeing a massive uptick in the month of November for Ethereum-related ETFs. Why is this interesting? The top of Ethereum was August 18th. It was August 18th, and it's dropped like crazy since that time, and it really started to accelerate the drop at the end of October. We were sitting around the 3,800 range. Now we're at 2,800. So all these institutions are gobbling up Ethereum. Why? And here's Jamie Dimon. In case you didn't need a good enough reason to fucking close your JP Morgan Chase account, let's listen to Jamie Dimon talk about Bitcoin in 2015 and his thoughts behind it, and realize how much signal is in this.
You're wasting your time.
So you think they can?
When the DOJ calls someone up and says that's an illegal currency and it's against the laws of the United States of land, if you do it again, we'll put you in jail. It's over.
So you really
there's no issue. There will be. This is my personal opinion. There will be no real non-controlled currency in the world. There's no government that's going to put up with it for long. It's kind of cute now. You know, a lot of the senators in Congress will say, I support Silicon Valley innovation. There will be no currency that gets around government control. And you're wasting your time.
So you think so again, this guy's a dipshit. He's feeding you a bunch of garbage. Remember this. What's more likely to happen? Us to have some kind of retail and some kind of exuberance and go higher to 250,000, maybe into 2026. It's the most ironic outcome, right? The most ironic outcome is that retail would get scared and run away. Cypher up almost 8% right now. CleanSpark up 6.5%. Iron up 3.88%. But everybody gets scared, runs away, and then the market continues to go up because the fundamentals behind what this administration are doing are strong. If you have TDS, let go of it. Realize that you've been on the wrong side of economic history and that your greatest opportunity for wealth is sitting in front of you right now. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you could share it, if you could hit the like and do all those things, it's greatly appreciated. I know there's less of you today. You guys are the real ones. I come here because you come here. I hope you guys have a great start to your week. I would be ready to watch this bitch go higher. I love you guys, and I'll see you Wednesday, okay? Peace out. Bye.